Welcome back, everyone. This is the Big Trio, and hope you had a good long weekend last week. We're back today again to talk about Skunk. We didn't quite finish off where we needed to with him last podcast. Um, so we ended off with one of his, I think, first girlfriends. There's three main ones. The one that we talked about last time, another one that we'll talk about today. And if we have enough time, we'll get into the third one, but I think that might have to be for the third one is quote unquote girlfriend. He says girlfriend, but that's a different story. We'll get into that another time, or maybe today if we get a chance to. But I am the Big Trio Yellow.
The big trio white.
Back with a big trio brown.
I don't know why that was funny. What?
Thinking of skunk.
It for skunk. Okay, so I'll get into the background of this girl just a little bit. This is his I think second one, and so basically Skunk and this next girl they worked at a bar together, a restaurant together, and I think they became friends. Even though Skunk we'd be like, "Who's this girl?" and Skunk would be like, "It's my friend," and then he'll give that like winking a gun face that I want to smack him in the head for, and just to imply that he's like slamming or something, even though we knew he wasn't at that time. But they met there, and then I think they ended up being roommates. And then so how we all met this next girl is it's a fucked up situation. We were trying to go on vacation like we usually do during the early winter months, and Skunk needed a roommate to make the trip cheaper for him, and so he started asking like all of his like stupid ass friends, which they're legitimately just, you don't want to deal with these people. You got one guy who said he's like the captain of the captain of the water volleyball team, Olympic volleyball. I didn't even know this existed. But anyways, we'll get into him a little bit later. But anyways, just pure exaggerators and lies. Anyways, but so he had to find another roommate. So he asked all kinds of people, and in the end, we wanted him to just find one. But those other people he asked ended up all wanting to come. So then there was a fucked up situation with like 5 dudes, and then also there's one girl that he worked with that came on this trip, and that's another story of the fucked up situation that happened with them afterwards. But we'll just focus on him and the girl, Skunk and the girl this time around. So anyway, she came on this trip. She actually ended up not being in the room with Skunk. She at this point they weren't together. She was in a room with another dude named Z, who's apparently the captain of the water volleyball team, the Olympic water volleyball team, if that exists, for both Greece and Ethiopia at the same time. I don't know how that happened. And now I'm going to hand it over to White, who will explain a certain situation he was involved in with this girl that Skunk was befriending. Just to give you an idea of her character, and this is the type of girls that this guy ends up chasing after. And like I think Brown said before, it ends up being like this cake or trashy white girl like with a mousy look. So this is exactly what this girl looks like actually. So anyways, go ahead, White, why don't you clue us into what happened on one of the very beginning days of the vacation.
Yeah, I think it was probably, I think night 2 maybe, somewhere in there. And we were at this club, and the night was coming to a close. And this guy she was rooming with, we'll call him Z, apparently had this girl that he was bringing back to the room to slam. And so she decided that she needed a bed to sleep in that night. So she offered herself into my bed. So there was the very clear rules that, nothing was to go down, nothing, no touch, nothing. She just needed a place to sleep. So I was like, cool, whatever. Go ahead, sleep. Um, it took about 10 minutes before things got out of control, and the hands and everything were all over the place. Um, this girl was definitely that loosey goosey, and I just want to point out the fact that the next morning we also came to the conclusion that Z did not slam no girl. He just wanted to have the bed to himself.
Well, I don't even think he even wanted the bet to himself. He just wanted to make it look like he was super cool. That
Well,
he
yeah,
had,
he probably wanted to be a big guy, but
yeah, he wanted to be big man and prove to us that he got a girl home. But I believe it was confirmed by one of his other stupid friends that he was in the room by himself because that guy knocked on the door to go into his room and chill with him the whole night. So not only did he let a girl go wandering off in the middle of the night in a strange place into another dude's bed that I guess she barely knows, but he himself had no reason to even do it. So this is the type of people A, Skunk hangs around, and this is also B, the type of girls he goes for. And just to be clear, I was in the room with White, and it was less
yeah,
than
you
10
definitely
minutes.
were.
It was less than 10 minutes before,
You were also less than 3 feet away.
indeed, I was. And all I heard was like sloppy noise, as if like I don't know if you guys seen that meme, that meme where the mom was cooking macaroni and cheese and it was making that sloppy noise, and the kid was talking about fingering punani and shit. That's exactly what it sounded like.
Yo, we all know what that next post is going to be on Yo's page.
Oh yes, and so I'm gonna have to find that meme back still, and then but yeah, that was the noise. I had to turn around quick times just to see what was going on, and all I saw was White's eyes looking at me because he was facing me, and this big smile. I was creeped out at the same time because I'm like, this is disgusting. I don't want to see this going on. She turned around for a second and looked at me, and I think there was a second where she was trying to get me to join, and I just pretend I fell asleep, and I just let it be.
But
So
you
yeah, that. Sorry, go ahead, Brown.
you were really listening, and
I,
you were
I, I was definitely listening. You can't miss that noise. When you hear that noise, it brings you attention. It's like when somebody farts in the room. You can't see it, and it's in the air. When you smell it, you gotta go find the person that's doing it. It's just how it goes, bro. So, anyways, that's a little bit of a character there of the friends Skunk hangs around, and plus girls he goes for. And we're gonna continue with this. And I think Brown, you got some stuff to add here.
Well, I'm gonna take it back to first impression here of how he introduced her to me and what he was talking about. So this motherfucker, we were out one night and he's like, we were talking about the trip and everybody was just amping up. And I'm like, you got that roommate yet? And he's like, yeah. It's I'm gonna bring this girl. I'm like, oh, so it's somebody that you're slamming. And he's like, nah, 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 just someone I'm sharing a room with for like schooling. I'm like, okay. But then we later found out that there was no fucking schooling going on. It was just a hoax. But that's another story. So I'm like, all right, cool. So he's like, oh, don't worry, you'll meet her tomorrow. I'll bring her by so you can meet her. I'm like, all right, cool. So I'm like, what does she look like? So he's like, yo, you're not gonna believe me, bro, but she looks like Megan Fox. What? Like Megan Fox, eh? I'm like, okay. I'm like, shit. I'm like, you're not afraid that mans are gonna snake? And he's like, nah. He's like, yo, she like loves me. She like likes me. Like she's all about me. She ain't gonna do nothing. I have that on control. So I'm like, it's your girl then. He's like, nah, nah, that's not my girl. That's not my girl, bro. It's just one of my things. I don't care who takes it. I don't care who slams it. Anybody can take it. I'm like, all right, cool. So the next day happens, shows up, and he was just there, and we were just chilling. And I'm like, yo, how's she getting here? He's like, yo, she's got my car, so she's gonna come down and get me. And I'm like, what the fuck's she doing with your car? He's like, oh, she just uses it to just chill. I'm like, yo, that's a girlfriend, man. She's using your car and shit like that. That's a girlfriend. He's like, nah, nah, nah. I'm gonna go take a beer right now. So I told her, I don't want to drink and drive. Okay, I'm like, all right, whatever. Like, this is always backwards shit going on. But I was like, that's cool. So this girl showed up, And I'm telling you, man, it's like something out of a movie. So she showed up, and like you were like zoomed in. So I remember it was at like a Jack Astor's or something, and so where she parked was literally right by where the patio was. And so we were just chilling there, and I looked
I,
over. What's that?
sorry, I was gonna say I remember this night now. Now that you brought it back to where,
Yeah,
yeah.
chilling at the patio, and she showed up. So she parked the car right by where the patio was, where we were chilling. And so I'm telling you, it's straight out of a movie. It's like your eyes just kind of panned and then started zooming in. So the car door opened, and the first thing I remember seeing was that foot. Shit, that 1 feet came out, and it was Uggs. And this was like I was like, okay, that's cool. But then as it started to slowly come out, closer as it's coming out, you notice track pants. So I'm like, oh yeah, here comes the fucking lazy wear. And then, and then there was this, and then as she stepped out, it was a little dark, so I couldn't fully see the face. I did see the black hair, but I saw this big fucking oversized jacket
Oh
covering her.
yes.
She was, I think, and he's got a pretty small car. He's a small dude too, but he's got a small car with like a short top. Hey, if you got a short top and you're fucking shorter than a short top car, there's a problem there. You're not Megan Fox anymore. You're Megan Half. At that point, you're,
Did the face at least look like Megan Fox,
you're
or did it look like Mickey Mouse?
as she came in, I think even the cartoon Minnie Mouse looked better than when she came. I just came closer on the patio and I started looking at this girl. I'm like, oh, motherfucker, this guy. I'm like, this is this man's Megan Fox. I don't even want to know. I don't even want to know what a good-looking chick looks like to him because I'm like, this. So she came by and she was like introducing herself. Whatever, decent personality. I'm not gonna say anything with personality, but I'm just staring at her because I'm trying to figure out what is it, the arm? Is it the finger, the nails, the toes? What is it that's Megan Fox? And she came and she picked them up. And then I think I told you mans about this. And I'm like, yo, this guy's bringing some chick and it's Megan Fox. And I just left it alone until you guys ran into them at the airport.
Oh yes, I do remember that, and I remember even at the Jack Astor's when I was there with you at the Jack Astor's when she came in, and this guy was amping like Skunk was amping her up like nobody's business. I'm like, oh man, there's gonna be a Megan Fox looking girl. I'm like, I can't see this. Like Skunk, let's get a better picture of Skunk here. He ain't no like Rico Suave, even though he thinks he is. Fabio looking dude. He's just a normal like 5'5", like Oompa Loompa looking guy.
All
So
right, I was gonna. You took the words out of my mouth, but I wasn't sure if I could say it.
well, that one's fine. That one's fine, I think. But it was just I'm like, okay, this guy's gonna bring Megan Fox. Let me take a look at this. He did not bring Megan Fox, as we recall. But anyway, sorry, Brown, go ahead.
I'm I'm just thinking back now because it's in my head. I'm like, this fucking girl was nowhere close to anything.
No,
That's what
no, it wasn't, man. No, it wasn't. And his excuse was like, yo, man, she just came from work. She's tired. I'm like, okay, whatever you want to say, bro.
that's,
I think she disappointed him because she came and nobody was said nothing like nobody. You know how when dudes around or a hot girl comes by, no matter whose girl it is, if it's a new girl,
Well,
you're gonna be like, yo, check that out. It's
that
not
chatter
bad.
always happens.
Exactly, it's just chatter. But I think Skunk noticed that there was legitimately like no movement at the table, and everybody just kind of looked at each other sideways, trying to figure out what was going on here, if like this was just a friend of Megan Fox that came by. So we were trying to figure shit out. We had no fucking clue. But yeah, go ahead, Brown.
that was just first impression of her. But so whatever, you guys talked about the trip thing, the shadiness that happened with her and Z and shit like that. So he let Megan Fox go. Eventually, somebody else got Megan Fox, on that trip. But he ended,
Yeah, Z ended up catching Megan
yeah,
Fox in that trip, or not Megan Fox. Not, it's the same girl. We're talking about the same girl that came on the trip because we might be confusing people right now. Skunk described his second girlfriend, which when she came on
that's
the trip was not his girlfriend at the time. as Megan Fox. But we're talking about the same girl here, and she did not look like Megan Fox. So even on that trip, we're just trying to say, go ahead. I think Z caught it.
Z caught it, but he didn't know anything about it until later on when shit started resurfacing. So
Yeah.
I remember he moved in with her. This was after the trip and everything like that. This is when shit started to get real, and I was like, okay, at this point you're like fucking dating her. This is not she's your friend business. So he moved in with her, and I remember one night he was just like chilling. And he's like, yo, I need to give you a link and like tell you something. I'm like, all right. So he's like, yo, like, what would you do? That's how the conversation started. What would you do? I'm like, oh fuck, here it goes. And he's like, so, girlfriend number two went out to a club, or to a bar.
Which is this girl, the girl
Yeah.
we've been talking about the whole time. Yeah.
His number two girlfriend. So second girlfriend went out to a bar and was just chilling, and was approached by another guy. And from what she's told him, they just had drinks. They were just chilling and played pool. And he got too hammered, apparently, to the point where he couldn't make it home. So she offered for him to stay by her place. But there was no cab ride or anything like that. It was apparently they walked home together to her place. And, but you don't have to worry because he slept on the couch and I slept in the room.
Yeah,
So there was
just like she wanted to share that bed without nothing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But don't worry, there's separate sheets. So,
Yeah. Oh yes. Yeah.
don't worry. And separate pillows. So don't worry. And another person in the room, so don't worry. But this one was oh, don't worry. He was on the couch. So you have nothing to worry about. Don't worry. So there was the question of what are you gonna do? And I'm like, what I would fucking do is I would be like, you're done. If he can make it to the club, I'm sure he can make it back home. Like there's nothing to question here. She brought home a random man to her place alone, and you're gonna believe that? Where was the camera? That she have proof that he slept on the couch? So anyways, like whatever. That conversation went off, and he was just trying to make it look like it was all good. It was nothing bad. So okay, so why did you call then? Why'd you have this? Why do you have to ask me this? So obviously there was something else on there. So later on, other stuff started resurfacing where he found out that Z, and I found this out.
Sorry. Before you continue, I'm gonna wrap up kind of what you just said right now because there's some things I remember that you kind of left out there. So it's what you said. She went to the bar on her own with her roommate, like another girl. The roommate was with her, and then like she saw that the girlfriend number two met this other guy and they were talking and chilling, whatever. So they are about to go home, and what happened was the roommate left because girlfriend number two did not want to leave with them. So she went home first, and she's like, "Why are you not coming?" He's like, "No, I'm gonna chill with this guy. He's drunk, so I'm gonna make sure he gets home okay and all that." So she's like, "Okay, that's weird. Whatever. Leave him the fuck alone. He's here with friends. Who cares?" So she thought it was weird, so she left and went home. In the morning, what happened was she saw the dude on the couch that she brought home. The roommate saw. However, during the night when she went in and out of the washroom, she did not see him on the couch. So where was he in between this time? Where obviously she was in the bedroom of girlfriend number two. And so I think what happened was that the roommate she felt bad for Skunk because she's like, this is a really sketchy situation. You only know half the story. And she was like really cheesed at girlfriend number two at that point for like, bringing a random dude into their home that she doesn't know. Could have been like, I don't know, a fucking serial killer. So she was cheesed and was like, I'm going to tell Skunk. So that's when she messaged Skunk and be like, this is what happened with you and your girlfriend, or this guy and your girlfriend that night. I left. She stayed back with him. She came home with him. He's on the couch now, but in the middle of the night, unless he went home and then came back onto the couch, which makes no sense. She was
No,
She was roaming her. He was roaming around the house somewhere. So guess where he was roaming around the house? Most likely in your girlfriend's bed. And and even to that point, she told him. And then Skunk went up to the girlfriend later and tried to like talk to her and be like, did this happen or is it what you told me happened? He's like, and she said, I don't really remember, but like I know by morning time he was on the couch. So he's like, and so Skunk got angry as any normal human would be, and I would expect no less. Start questioning her and be like, "Are you crazy? Like you brought a random dude home? Your roommate says he wasn't on the couch in the middle of the night, and he ended up on the couch in the morning. That he'd do like a 5-hour Tim Hortons run and come back." And then she questioned him for being angry or not trusting her, and told him it's over. Then he got sensitive and literally chased after her and was like, "I'm so sorry. I trust you. Like it doesn't even matter if he was in your bed. Like I just want you back." This guy was full on pussy whip mode. This girl, I don't know how much more clearer that a girl cheated on you that night. That you would still run after her and apologize and believe that nothing happened. As a good Samaritan, you're gonna like take a random dude home into your home and then disappear and then come back on the couch. Sorry, Brown, go ahead.
I remember clearly now. That's exactly what I remember telling you the shit when he linked about it, but he didn't pitch the dude thing, or he didn't pitch the roommate thing yet. The roommate thing resurfaced afterwards when he started getting pussy whipped and he tried to get her back. That's when the roommate thing, because they both turned on the roommate afterwards. They were like the Three Musketeers at the beginning, because I remember him face calling and shit like that. And I was like, who the fuck is that? And he was like, oh, just some other girl. But he played it off like she was another girl. He didn't say that was his woman's roommate, because he would leave the room with the two of them and go into like a private room when he did the FaceTime stuff. And I'd be like, yo, who the fuck was that? And he's like, yo, just another girl. Okay. You remember, I think one time there was even a three-way. I think I three-wayed you on the call, Yellow.
Yeah, I remember that.
Remember that? Yeah, and he had her on there, and he was trying to play it off like it was some next woman. Oh, like
he was trying to play it off like he was banging his girlfriend and this other girl at the same time. Was
exactly.
Like I said, that wink in the gun face that he gives you, and you want to slap him for. That's what he was doing.
So this shit resurfaced afterwards when after he didn't say how he was chasing after and shit like that. He was just kind of putting it like nobody told him or anything like that. And then afterwards he came out saying that the roommate snaked her out because her and the roommate started beefing over the whole situation and some other shit. And then after he got pussy whipped and he started chasing after her, they both turned on the roommate and then kicked her out.
Yes, I remember now. Yeah, the roommate actually helped out Skunk by telling him the truth. Then when he got pussy whipped and tried to get his girlfriend back, he tried to impress the girlfriend by turning on the roommate for some reason who tried to help him.
Stories and shit and like made things up to break them up and shit, and that's not what happened.
Oh yes, that's right. By the end of the story, Skunk said that the roommate made it all up, and so that to break him up because the roommate wanted him. was the story. The roommate wanted to slam him, so then he's like that's why she made up that story to break them up, but then none of that really happened. Even though he fully believed the roommate to begin with, and also the circumstances surrounding that situation is really sketchy. So I don't know how you can believe your girlfriend taking a random dude home was okay, and then you beg for her forgiveness.
So this is like box of condom in the back of the car, part 2.
Oh yes. Only this is more clear because he was there, like he was there, and there is proof that he was in like the room via the roommate. So,
but I think
he had
a good reason to chase her. So don't forget the conversation or the call that he made about her being pregnant, and so that's why he had to go back.
Oh yes.
This is a big point here. So if she cheated on you and you're pregnant, you need to go back. Just remember that.
Because it's also 100% your baby if she was pregnant.
100% his child. Because
Yeah, it has to be because it has to be because nobody else might have slept with her that was drunk and in her room that other night. But in the end of that one, she wasn't pregnant. He was just making shit up to like also make us find out why, or make us be convinced of why he should be going back to her. But also, sorry, go ahead, Brown. You continue your story. I think you're about to head into another tangent before I stopped you and recap.
This is a quick one. That one was more of the detail madness that kind of started the whole cheating shit and stuff. But what started to resurface was a relationship actually between the water polo captain Z and
not water polo. Water polo is an actual sport. He was You're forgetting he is team captain of the Greek/Ethiopian water volleyball team.
But he was also a firefighter, so yeah, full time.
Yeah,
yes, full-time firefighter and also a full-time massage therapist at the same time, depending on who you talk to. If you remember, if he talked to the president of the United States, he would have been full-time, like, I don't know, attorney general, or I don't know. That's maybe Canadian. I don't know my politics, but
what does he look like to you guys? Like, he has a face of somebody really fucking stupid.
He looks like a pure like douchebag. I remember seeing his picture for the first time. This Z man. Remember? I think I showed you.
Yeah,
I briefed him on Facebook.
I think the podcast listeners need to like really understand how this fucking guy looks. Like, I'm picturing him like half bald in the middle, but has hair on the side of his head. He's got a really fucking pointy nose. I don't know. It's like as if a gremlin had sex with something unknown.
I'll tell you exactly what I think he looks like. If you can picture Mr. Burns, but like a 30-year-old version of him.
Yeah, true. With a little bit of mixture of Mr. Bean.
Yes. Oh yeah, Mr. Bean. Mr. Bean's like Mr. Bean's like skin tone and like hair color mixed with Mr. Burns' face. That would be how it would look like for real.
Just put it together, and that's exactly how he looks.
It was exactly how Z looked, and I still remember the first time because that skunk man, he messages like, "Oh, this guy Z is gonna come with me." I'm like, "What the fuck? Who are these people that are all coming all of a sudden?" And then I'm like, "Give me his fucking name." And I got his name. I looked him up. I'm like, "Oh my god!" I already knew it was bad news to begin with when we saw this shit. And then I think it got worse. Like, he started off all right on that trip, right, Z?
He did, and then I mean it's we could get into this on a later podcast with that fucker because that whole like gang of shitheads was like a mess on its own.
Yeah, they were dumb. In the end, he blamed you for snaking like girls, or some shit like that, even though you were just actually trying to get girls for the crew, and then. For some reason he ended up being mad, and then that was it for that trip. But anyways, he's dumb.
So that was actually Skunk's like really good friend. That's how he sold it to us, as into why he was coming as a third man, or third person for the room. But what ended up turning out, so his best boy went from best friend to literally, I don't want to fucking see him. I can't stand him. I'm gonna knock the fuck out of him and beat the shit out of him. And I'm like, what the fuck happened? He's like, I don't want to talk about it. And to this day, there's still, I don't want to talk about it. I mean, but obviously putting it all together, she, Z fucking slept with, girlfriend number 2 on vacation, and that was it. And then he apparently fucked off. But he's been doing it even before the whole thing started, the vacation started and the relationship started.
Yeah, which I don't understand why Skunk would be upset about, because that's before him. Like,
but he was still slamming with her. So he just continued. It was like nothing. Yeah.
Oh, okay. He continued piping her even through.
Yeah.
Oh shit. Okay. Yeah, I do. Because I do remember him.
That one night he took a recess. That's why he's like, down. Let me just fucking handle my shit. So he took a recess break, but then after he took it back and then just went ham.
This is the woman that Skunk chases after. can't on that one trip she got finger blasted by White while I semi fell asleep or watched, whatever you want to call it. And then at the same time, Z, the captain of the Greek Ethiopian water volleyball and also I guess water golf team, whatever the fuck you call it. Yeah, she took a piping from him, and this is what he calls his skunk calls his like good friend and shit at that point. But I'm like, all right, whatever. And this is the girls he goes for. So we'll move on now to the aftermath of after Skunk. Well, not Skunk. The girlfriend number 2 actually broke up with Skunk, and Skunk was devastated. And I think she broke up with him because she started seeing some other dude, like right away. Like the timeline was broke up, and then she was with another dude 2 weeks later, which you, as many listeners will probably know, means that she was with him well before the 2 weeks that she made it public. So why don't you go on with that, Brown, that portion of things, and how Skunk continually tried to chase after her and his maneuvers.
Well, that's the thing is that stuff starts leading into a lot of some real fucked up shit that I'm sure people are gonna really lose their minds over. But
number 2, yes, is a part of the story going forward a little bit, but it's just a small part. So I want to wrap up this big part of it, which is when she started breaking up with him, he continually tried to hang on, even though she was like suspected to be seeing another dude already. So whatever, this girlfriend number 2 lived in another town, maybe about an hour away from where Skunk lived. So Skunk, apparently with no job, no money, and no credit, somehow bought a house out in this town to be near her, and then was supposedly going to rent it out to her. So at this point, we were really drilling him because we're like, this girl is she fucking cheated on you before you even broke up, and is now banging some other dude. Why are you like A, trying to help her, and B, like trying to hang around, chase after her? He's like, oh, this goes back to the other story where he's like, if I'm around enough, like she'll know I'm the better guy and she'll come to me and blah, 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 blah. So anyways, I questioned him even buying the house because I know a little bit of real estate. And because obviously to get a mortgage, you need like, papers and like income and credit, which he had none of. I know that because he was very open with how he was always broke. So finally, we came back from this trip. Actually, that vacation we came back on, and he's like, I'm like, okay, I was gonna call him out on his bluff because apparently his house was supposed to close when we got back, and it's been closing for a year at that point. And I'm like, that's a long closing date, bro. And then I'm like, okay, let's do a big party when we get in. He's like, nah, man, I'm not gonna do a party. I'm like, why not? Like, let's do the party at your new house. I want to see it. I'm like, why not? He's like, because I don't want to. I'm like, okay, that's fine. Well, I'm just gonna tell you right now that I don't think you have a house.
Yeah, and then there's a guy that always looks for a party. There's a man that always looks for a party.
Yeah, he would have any excuse for a party, and all of a sudden he doesn't want to have a party at his own brand new first house that he ever got, quote unquote. So then I'm like, all right, well, you know what? I'm gonna go look then at look for this closing because your name should be on it. And I have I'll get my real estate agent to look. I'm gonna call your bluff. He's like, you're a fucking asshole. Like, don't do that shit. Like, I don't give a shit what you think. Like, I put it under another name, blah blah blah. And I'm like, all right, whatever. I don't care. I'm not gonna push your buttons anymore. And then there came time. I think it was you that spoke to him about the closing of the house, how he was cheesed at me, right? So why don't you take it off from here?
One more thing. So the vacation we came back to right before, he was excited about closing the place, but there was one more depressing part. Girlfriend number 2 was pregnant for the second time. So I just want to throw that one in there. But
correct.
So anyway,
quote unquote pregnant.
When I yeah, she was. I believe it. But So after the whole house thing, about that whole little shit that went down there, so he linked, and I'm like, yo, man, what's going on with the house? Like, show me a few things with the house stuff. He's like, nah. He's like, like these guys don't fucking believe me. And, I'm gonna prove to them I have it. Like, I mean, I just put it under like a parental, like somebody else's name. I needed to do it to like build this and build that. It's under their name too. And I'm like, okay, that's cool, man. That's cool. Do your thing. And I'm like, okay, so when is it actually closing? Like, when you gain? He's like, we're supposed to get possession on this day, but the owner came back and spoke to us about taking the house back, and we felt bad for him, so we sold it back to him. So I was like, why? And he's like, oh, well, his dad passed away in the house, and he thinks that the ghost is still around, so he wants the house back. He can have so he can still live with his dad and see the ghost in the house. I'm like, are you fucking? People aren't gonna believe this shit. They literally. I remember I was telling you this stuff, and I'm like, yo, you're not gonna believe me when I tell you. You're gonna be like, yo, you're telling like fucking Are You Afraid of the Dark stories here. But this is
Goosebumps books.
This, yeah. This man dropped on me that they didn't even take possession of the house yet. They didn't even sign it over anything yet, or closed yet. But they're giving it back, not selling it back. They're giving it back. Here, you can take it back. Take it back. They're giving it back to the owner because the owner's father passed away in the house and his ghost is in there. And he needs to live with his father, his dead father's ghost in the house. And that's why the house didn't close. So for your information, the reason you couldn't find names under the house is because it was under the dead father's name. So nothing will appear. It's all invincible.
That's why I said it was Casper the Friendly Ghost was roaming around that house, and that's why he didn't want to close on it. That shit, you can't even, like I said, we've talked about this before. You can't make this, I don't know if you can make shit up that is like this. Like, where do you find a story where you apparently closed on a house for a year, bought a house for over a year, closing in a year, finally while on vacation, coincidentally, the owners of that house, one of the owners of the house dies, and then the son of that owner says, "Can I please have the house back because my dad died and there's a ghost in here and I would like to live with the ghost continuously." You can't. I don't even know how you make this up. Like, Universal Pictures would be like, "Yo, this is a fucking crazy story, man. Like, I want the story."
I'm pretty sure it's partially your fault, Yellow, because you questioned him too much. He didn't even make a profit on that property because he had to give it back quickly before you kept pressing him on it. If you didn't keep pressing him, I'm sure he would have rented it to the ghost.
Oh, true. He would have bought the house and then rented it back to the son.
Yeah.
To live with the ghost still.
And his father's the ghost, yeah.
Of course.
And the ghost.
But does that count as two tenants then, that he has to charge extra for hydro and shit?
Well, one's invincible money, which is the one that he uses for vacation.
That's true. Or the money that he stole from White's work.
Good lead up.
Okay, so we'll leave it at that. This is a good wrap up for this portion of Skunk. We'll probably move on to somebody else on podcast number 4. Maybe even back to Hamster. There's lots on him still. But there will be much more on Skunk because the part 3 of his story is really whacked out. If you thought the ghost story was like unreal, you're going to want to listen to like his next bit of adventure and his excuses that he provides Brown for certain things. It's absolutely crazy. So we'll wrap it up here now. And so you can reach us at the Big Trio 3. That's the Big Trio with the number 3. And individually you can reach us at the Big Trio _yellow, _white, and _brown. Just leave comments, or if you want us to discuss a certain topic, or if you want to discuss a certain topic about this podcast, let us know. And if the question is interesting enough or the comments interesting enough, we'll put it on the next podcast as well. So until next time, which is every Sunday at by 9 p.m. we should have our podcast posted. I am the Big Trio Yellow.
I'm the Big Trio White.
I'm the Big Trio Brown.
Signing off.